What do you think? When do you like at me?
A woman of
A
faith,
woman of faith,
an expert,
an expert,
maybe even a sister,
maybe even sister,
or
or
oppressed,
oppressed,
brainwashed,
brainwashed,
a
a
terrorist,
terrorist,
or just
or
an
just
airport
an airport
security
security
line
line delay.
delay. That one's actually
That
true.
one's actually true.
If some of your
If summer
perceptions were
your
negative, I don't
perception were
complain.
negative, I don't
That's just
really.
how the
I just
media has
have
been
how
portraying
how
people
the
look like.
people look like me.
One study
One
found
study found that
80% of news
80% of
coverage
news
about
covers
Islam and
of
Muslims
about
is
Islamic
negative.
Muslim is negative,
And studies
and
show that
studies show
Americans
that
say that
Americans
most
say
don't
that
know a
most
Muslim.
don't know a
I
Muslim.
guess people don't
I
talk
guess
to their
people
Uber
don't talk
drivers.
to their under.
Well, for those of
Well,
you
for
who've
those of you
never met a Muslim,
who have never met a
it's
Muslim,
great to meet
it's
you.
great to meet you.
Let me tell you
Let me
who I
tell you
am.
who I am.
I'm a
I
mom,
am a mom,
a coffee
a coffee
lover,
lover,
double espresso cream on the
double
side.
espresso cream on
I'm an
time.
introvert.
I am a nature wave.
I'm a wannabe
I
fitness
am wanna
fanatic.
be fitness
And
fanatic. I am
I'm a practicing
practicing
spiritual
spiritual
Muslim.
Muslim,
But not like
but not
Lady
like
Gaga
Lady
says,
Gaga
because baby,
says,
I wasn't
because
born
baby
this
I
way.
wasn't born this way.
It was a
It
choice.
was a choice.
When I was
When
17,
I was
I
17,
decided to
I
come out.
decided to come out.
No, not as a
No,
gay
not as
person
a
like some
gay
of my
person like
friends,
some of my
but as a
friends,
Muslim,
but as a
and
Muslim.
decided to
I
start wearing
decided
the
to start
hijab, my
wearing
head
the
covering.
hijab, my head covering.
My feminist
My
friends
feminist
were
friends were
aghast.
aghast.
Why are you oppressing
Why are
yourself?
you oppressing yourself?
The funny thing
The funny thing
it was
was, it
actually
was
at that
actually
time a
at that time
feminist
a feminist
declaration of
declaration of
independence.
independence.
From the
From the
pressure I
pressure I
felt as a
felt as
17
a
year old
17
to
years old
conform to a
to
perfect
conform
and
to
unattainable
a
standard.
perfect and unattainable.
I didn't just
I didn't
passively
just ba-
accept
bas-
the faith of
basically
my parents.
passively accept.
I wrestled
I
with the
wrestled with
Quran.
the Quran.
I read
I read
and
and
reflected,
reflected and
questioned and
questioned
doubted,
and doubted
and ultimately believed.
and ultimately believed.
My
My
relationship with
relationship was
God, it
God.
was not
It was not
love at
love
first
at
sight.
first sight.
It was a
It was a
trust and a
trust
slow
and a slow
surrender
surrender
that deepened with
that
every
deepened with
reading of a
every
Quran.
reading of a Quran.
Its
Its
rhythmic beauty
rhythmic
sometimes
beauty,
moves me to
something
tears.
moving me to tears.
I see
I
myself
see
in it. I
myself in
feel
it.
that God
I felt
knows me.
that God knows
Have you
me.
ever felt like
Have
someone
you
sees
ever
you,
felt like someone sees you,
completely understands you,
completely understand you,
and yet loves you
and
anyway?
yet loves you anyway?
That's how it
That's
feels.
how it feels.
And so
And
later,
so
I got
later I
married,
got married.
and like all good
I, like
Egyptians,
all good
started my
Egyptians,
career as
started
an engineer.
my career as an engineer.
I later
I
had
later
a
had a
child after
child
getting
after
married,
getting
and
married.
I was
I
living
was living
essentially the
essentially
Egyptian
the
American
Egyptian
dream.
American dream.
And then that
And
terrible
then
morning
that
of
triple morning of
September
September
2001.
2001.
I think a lot
I
of you
think a lot
probably
of you
remember
probably remember
exactly where
exactly
you
where you
were
were
that morning.
that morning.
I was
I was
sitting
sitting
in
in
my
my kitchen
kitchen
fishing
fishing breakfast, and
breakfast.
I look up on the
I look up
screen and
on
see
the
the words
screen and
breaking
see
news.
words
There was
breaking news.
smoke,
There was a
airplanes
smoke,
flying into
airplanes
buildings,
flying,
people jumping
people
out of
jumping out of
buildings.
building.
What was
What
this?
was this?
An
An
accident?
accident?
A
A
malfunction?
malfunction?
My shock
My
quickly
shock
turned to
quickly turned it to
outrage.
outrage.
Who would
Who would
do this?
who would do this?
And I switched the
And I switch
channel
this
and I hear
channel and I hear
Muslim
Muslim
terrorists
tourists
in the name of
in
Islam,
the name of Islam,
Middle Eastern
Middle East
descent,
descent,
jihad.
jihad.
We should bomb
We
Mecca.
should bomb Mecca.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Not only
Not only had my country been attacked,
but
but in a flash, somebody else's action had turned me from a citizen to suspect.
That
That
same
same
day,
day, we had to drive across Middle America to
to
move
move
a
a
new
new city
city to
to start
start a
grad
grad
school.
school.
And
And
I
I
remember
remember sitting
sitting
in
in
the
the
passenger
passenger
seat
seat
as
as
we
we
drove
drove
in
in
silence,
silence, crouched
crouched
as
as
low
low
as
as for the first time in my life,
afraid
afraid from anyone to know I was a Muslim. We moved into our apartment that night in that felt like a completely different life. And then I was hearing and seeing and reading warning from national Muslim organization saying things like be alert, be aware, stay in well lit areas, don't congregate. I stayed inside me. Then it was Friday, that same week, the day that Muslims congregate. And again, the warnings were don't go that first the Friday, it could be a target. And I was watching the news, walk to walk, emotion were so raw, understandably, and was also hearing about attacks on Muslims or people who were perceived being beaten. Mosques were actually firebombed. At I thought, and yet something didn't feel right because those people was attacked our country, attacked our country. I get it that people were angry at terrorists. Guess what? So was I. And so to have to explain yourself at all time. I don't mind question. I love questions. It's accusations that are right. Today we hear people actually saying things like there is a problem in this country and it's called Muslim. When are we going to get? So some people want to ban Muslim and close down mosques. They talk about my community kind of like in body of America. And only question is are we malignant or benign? You know, malignant tumor and benign tumor to just keep under surveillance. The choices don't make sense because it's wrong question. Muslims, like all other Americans, aren't a terror. We're a vital organ. Muslims are inventors and teachers, first responders, and Olympic athletes. Now, is closing down mosques going to make America safer? It might free up some parking spots, but it will not end. Going to a mosque regularly is actually to having more tolerant views of people other faiths and greater civic knowledge. As one police chief in recently told me, people don't actually get radicalized the mosque. They get recognized in their basement, in bedrooms.
And what you find
At
about the
what you
radicalization
find
process is
about
it starts
it
online,
starts
but the
online,
first thing that
but the first
happens
thing
is
that
the
happens
person gets
is the
cut off
person
from
get
their
cut off
community,
from their
from even their
community,
family,
from even
so
their
that the
family,
extremist
so
group
that
could
the
brainwash them
extremist
into
groups
believing
into
that
believing
they, the
that they
terrorists, are the true Muslims
tourists
and
are,
everyone else
and
who
everyone
oppose their
else who
behavior and ideology
their behavior and
are
the ideology
sellouts or
and sellouts
apostates.
or apostates.
So if we want to prevent
So if
radicalization,
we
we
want,
have to
we
keep
have to
people
keep people
going to
going to
mosque.
mosque.
Now, some will
Now
still
some will
argue
still
Islam is
agree
a violent religion.
Islam is
After
violent
all, a
religion.
group like ISIS
After all, a group
bases
like
its
ISIS
brutality on the Quran.
basis in brutality
Now,
is the
as a
Quran.
Muslim,
Now,
as
as
a
a Muslim, as
mother,
a mother, as a
as
human
a
being,
human being, I think we need to do
I think
everything we
we
can to
need to
stop
do
a group
everything we
like
can to stop
ISIS.
a group like ISIS.
But
But
we
we will be
would be
giving
giving
in
into the
their
narrative that
narrative.
we cast
It
them
will
as
cast them
representatives of
as
a faith of
representative
1.6
of
billion
fifths
people.
of 1.6 billion people. ISIS has as much to do with Islam
As the Ku Klux
as the
Klan has
cooker
to do with
has
Christianity.
to do. sh-
Both
Both
groups
groups
claim
claim
to
to
base
base
their
their ideology
their holy
on their
book,
holy book.
but when you look at
But
them,
when you look at
they're
them,
not
they're not
motivated by what they read in their
motivated
holy book.
by what
It's
they
their
think holy book.
brutality that
It's
makes
their
them read
brutality
these
that
things
makes
into
them
the
read
scripture.
this thing into protection.
Recently, a
Recently,
prominent
a
imam told me a
prominent
story that
imam
really took me
told
aback.
me
He
a
said
story.
that a girl
He
came
said
to
that a
him because she
girl
was
came
thinking of going to join
because she was
ISIS.
seeking, thinking.
I
I
was
was
really
really
surprised and asked
surprised
him,
and
had
asked
she been in
him
contact
as
with
she
a
had been
radical
in
religious
contact.
leader? And he
Con-
said the problem was
he
quite the
said a
opposite.
problem was a
That
quick
every cleric that she
that
had
every
talked to
cleric that
had shut
had
her down and said
talked,
that her
he
rage,
said
her
that
sense of
her
injustice
rage,
in the
his
world,
sense
was
in
just going to
injustice
get her in trouble.
was just going to
And
scare.
so, with
As
nowhere to
so was
channel and make sense of
no
this
hair
anger, she was
to
a prime
channel,
target to be
so a prime
exploited by
target
extremists
by
promising
extremists
her a
promising her
solution.
solution.
What this imam
What
did
this
was to
imam did
connect
was
her
to
back to
connect her
God and to
back
her
to God
community.
and her
He didn't
community.
shame
He
her for
didn't
her
shame her
rage.
for her rage.
Instead, he gave her
Instead, he gave
constructive
her
ways to
constructive
make
ways
real
to make
change in the
real
world.
change in
What
the
she
world.
learned at that
What she learned
mosque
at the mosque
prevented her
prevented
from
her
going
from
to
going
join
to join
ISIS.
ISIS.